Okay, we're gonna try this again. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna start from scratch. I just discarded the last Facebook Live. This is gonna be a quick little video, and it's in regards to my mom. I just took her to a physical therapist last week. I got her to go to one of the top physical therapy doctors in all of the United States, pretty much. They're very well known. And when she went there, she recently had knee surgery like 3 months ago. When she went there, she immediately called me and said, I do not want to go here anymore. And I was boggled. I'm like, how could you not go? These are some of the best physical therapists. And she said to me, while I was in pain, they didn't address me. They looked at me and they were so mechanical with me. They said, sit over here, put your leg up, put it back down. Here's some ice. Have a nice day. There was no smile. There was no, hey, how are you feeling today? And it just dawned on me that you can be so good with the mechanics of the body, like physical therapy. But if your human side is not there, no matter how good you are in the mechanics, people will not want to work with you. And what I'm realizing in the principles community, and this is something that I used to do a lot, is I used to think that what was important is if I could tell them the mechanics of the principles. Right? And they would come to me and they were in pain or whatever it was. And it was like, I would turn it into, well, did you know that it's thought? Did you know that it only works one way? If a psychologist wanted to discuss like what I'm doing, immediately it was like, I felt like I had to be on the defense. Like, actually, I can't really talk to you about this because what I'm talking about is a brand new paradigm. And it actually, you can't even tell me what you're talking about because my paradigm is different than yours. Or I hear even top practitioners talk about, levels of consciousness are not real, or they're real, or it only works one way. But you have to understand something. They want to work with you. You may know the mechanics of the principles, right? You may know the mechanics of spirituality, but they want to feel the spirit. They want to feel your spirit of who you are. How are you with them when you're with them? And no amount of studying the principles, understanding the principles, going into conferences and listening to anybody will bring you to the table. Which means, and this is good news for people that are just getting started, which means you can know a tiny bit of the principles, but your humanity, your connection to them will lead them farther because you have opened a space where you're not just talking about the mechanics of life. You could be an incredible physical therapist, but if you can't say hello to your clients, they're not going to come see you. You're not even going to be able to step foot in a physical therapy office if you don't even say hello. And I'm seeing this like space in so many my community where as soon as someone has an opposing viewpoint, an opposing opinion, it's like they get bombarded with, well, here's a link. Here's this. Read this principles book. Did you know who Sid Banks is? This is a paradigm. And all of a sudden, it's like you're no longer talking to a person. You're convincing them of the mechanics of spirituality. That's why I love this group, because I've didn't mean to design it this way, but it turns out that we get to meet in humanity first, and then we go to, well, I have a question about the principles, and then we laugh, we chuckle, and then we explore. The exploration part is spirituality. Talking about the principles because its levels of consciousness are not real, and it only works one way, and it's inside out, not outside in, and you're doing it wrong. That's just not that doesn't help people. In my experience. Now, this is my opinion as well. So I want to make that very clear. And following my example, I'm open to have a dialogue to see if this is necessarily true. In my recovery center, the last person that I talked to said something very interesting. Yes, exactly, Sarah. No one likes to be schooled. Some people maybe do, but in my experience, most of us don't want to be schooled. Even if we want to be schooled for most of it, right? I remember when I went to the recovery center and one of the clients said, you know what I really like about you is you don't really give a shit about your opinions because you'll say something one week and then come back today and say something completely different. And they will come to me and say, well, last week you said da, 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 da. And then I'll go, I don't see it that way today. And they're starting to see the fluidity of my opinions. They're starting to see that I don't take my opinions too seriously. Is there a truth out there somewhere? I'm sure there is. Am I Sid Banks? No, I didn't get to touch truth the way he did. I get glimpses of it. So because of that, the best place to show the glimpses is to talk to them from their glimpses as well. If they've never heard of the paradigm or understanding, great. What have you seen? What looks different to you? And that to me is the gift, the magic we have. And if you notice, my central theme for a long time has been people before principles. We need to connect with people. We need to see them where they're at. And if it occurs to us to talk about the principles, it will show up for us. One last thing, I had a guy that recently wanted to use me for coaching, and he's in our group. And I asked him, well, why do you want to work with me? His response is, because you resonate with me. He did not say because you're really good at the principles. He did not say that because you know the mechanics of how mind, consciousness, and thought works, so that's why we really want to work with you. He simply said you resonated. You're someone that I would like to talk to. That should tell you something about the kind of people that want to work with you. People do not want to work with you because you know the principles. They want to work with you because they want to be able to explore with you, talk to you, be there with you, and you be there with them. That's what they need first and foremost. And as we start from that space, the principles from what we know is already going to be built into the conversation. We don't have to start the conversation with, they're attorneys. How do I bring the principles into an attorney office? How do I bring the principles into a doctor's office? How do I talk to the principles with someone that's recovering? Now you've put the mechanics of love and spirituality before the people. You want me to tell you how I do it now? Oh, I'm talking to attorneys? Cool, they're people. Oh, I'm talking to recovering addicts? Cool, they're people. Oh, I'm talking to a group of attorneys or doctors? Oh, cool, they're people. Because when we start from their peopleness first, we are not getting ourselves bogged down to, well, how do I bring the principles in? How do I talk about this paradigm that everyone needs to know about? How do I make sure that they're not doing it wrong and screwing it up and starting from the outside in, which is also just words. It's just words. Start with the person. And you'll be amazed at how enrollment becomes easier. You'll be amazed at when you get to a group of people, you don't have to worry about what you have to say because you're all in the same boat. And that to me is starting from humanity, starting from peopleness, starting from that. And thank you, Dave. By the way, the reason I had to stop the last Facebook Live is because Dave Buddha kept calling me. That's him right there. So if you want to give him a trouble, give him trouble. But that's basically it. And so when we get off this call, if you're about to have a dialogue with someone, forget about the principles. Genuinely forget about the principles. The principles will be in the dialogue. I promise you that, but forget about them. See where they're at, see where you're at, and start. Thanks for watching. Bye, you guys.